All right, so it is time. So this is the Infinite Game, and we're going to be talking about alternative investment, and specifically, we're going to be talking about the sports card market, and is this a correction or a crash? And then also, I'm going to go into how do we find the bottom of the market and buy things really at the cheapest way possible. All right, so for the most part, I think for most of the sports cards, it's a crash. And this is not just happening with sports cards. This is happening with Pokemon. This is happening with a lot of NFTs. This is happening with crypto. This is happening with Yu-Gi-Oh. Even Dragon Ball Z. So this is not unusual. Even though the prices have been steep, but really the market is cooling off because things went insane. Because the reason why the market went insane in January through March is because people thought that a bunch of rich people were going to come in and buy up all the higher end stuff, and there would be none of it left. So they had to basically hurry up and scramble to get whatever they can get of the goats before before the rich people come in, so they could be the ones selling it to the rich people at very ridiculous prices. And then people realize that, hey, the cards are still going to be available because people flood the market, and it really just kind of messed people up because they severely overpaid for a lot of stuff. And now I think there is some panic in the market, and people are selling for a lot of reasons. I made a video of why the sports card market is crashing. I think it's more of a correction. I do think there are going to be certain cards that are going to crash and they will never return to their previous highs, or they won't surpass. And I think a lot of lower end cards like Hoops and Donruss, and a lot of these other fringe sets, especially for ultra modern, won't have as much love, but it's good because a lot of kids can get into it. So that's that. For most cards, it's going to be a correction. So some examples would be that you see on screen. So one example is Giannis Antetokounmpo. So a lot of people who were in the market, last year, remember that his card during March of 2020, right before the shutdown, got up to 3K, which was insane, 2,500 to 3K. And then after that, the card went to around 800. And then during August of last year, it went to 7K. And I've heard that some sold for close to 8K. But now those cards dropped during October time frame to about 3K, and then they fluctuated during the beginning of the season from 3K to around 2 to back to 3, and now they are sitting at around 2K to 1,800. And it's crazy because they could possibly go to the finals this year. They could win a championship this year. I doubt it, but that's what we're kind of seeing right now in the card market. There are some things that are going up, but that's really a good example. So also the other thing, the reason why there's a correction, why I think it's more of a correction than a crash, is because of there's still so much interest in the hobby. So one of them is viewership. If you look at YouTube or podcasts, viewership has been insane. It's been increasing every single month. Their breakers are doing well. They're probably having more business than they've ever had. There's so many more people going to card shows. Even the small little city card shows look like the Nationals, what the Nationals looked like 3 years ago. There's increased interest in the hobby, and I think a lot of people are just consolidating. I think a lot of people are getting smarter, and I think a lot of people are consolidating their cards into rare stuff. I don't think most people are going to leave the market, at least not right now. We may have that per se a couple years from now, 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, or something like that. Maybe it's 10 years from now. But the other thing is that there are a lot of other cars that severely decreased in price. Um, Especially February is really the height. So 1986 Fleer PSA 9 Michael Jordan was 89K, and it decreased 73% to about 24K now. Ken Griffey Jr. 1989 rookie was about 6K, and now it's 2K, and this is in February. Patrick Mahomes was 4K, 14K, and then it's selling for 9K. So that's just something to just keep in mind. That this is a major correction, and there are going to be certain things that are going to drop 70%, 80%, maybe even 90%, and that stuff. Some of that stuff is going to recover and get back to the all-time highs, or at least go up from what it is now. And there are going to be some things that will continue to drop and may never recover. So part of it is the Nationals right now. People are waiting to buy. And I think we're starting to get close to the bottom. Is no guarantee exactly when it will be, but I'm pretty sure it's going to hit different sports differently. And I think probably football probably one of the fastest ones to recover. And then probably basketball as well, because it just got hit first. I think basketball may actually recover first. Because I think this offseason is going to be insane with a lot of different trades, and it's going to be very eventful. People just thought it was going to be free agent signings, but I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be straight up trades for different players, because I think a lot of guys are going to want out, like Bradley Beal, Karl Anthony Towns, Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler. I think the NBA is going to be look completely different. LeBron James probably wants to get more help. So all those things. But the other thing is that, Nationals and people are waiting to buy and sell a lot of stuff. They are selling some stuff and buying some stuff, but I think most people are waiting for the Nationals, when I think most people aren't going to find that great of deals. And I think more and more attention is coming off online. I think there are a lot of deals and things being made, and I wish we knew the comps. But yeah, online, especially eBay, I think there's less and less people are focused on it. And if they are, they're way more selective than they used to be. So I think we're going to see online sales decrease and probably bottom out somewhere in August time frame. I'm thinking right after Nationals. For the most part, things may pick up in July. But with football decreasing, I doubt it. And I think a lot of people are just holding a lot of their football, and most people are going to try to sell in August. I think most people are going to be trying to sell a week before the season, or right when the season starts, like the first 2 weeks of the season. I think people are getting smarter, and I think people are starting to understand, yeah, that's what most people do. But I don't want to sell my cards exactly when everybody else is selling. So I think there's more to it than that. But also people realize that a lot of these cards, even though some of these more expensive cards are in, $1,000, $3 to really $200 to $5,000 range, that they will always be there and they can find them. Now, cards that are in $100,000 range is a different story. Which I'm gonna make a video about. There's 2 to 3 different markets. So there's about 2 to 3 different markets. There's the high end market, and then you have more of this middle tier type market, and then you have the lower end type market. And I think they all do different things. But also you can see that even soccer, Kylian Mbappe, Messi, Ronaldo, these are some of the most desirable names in sports cars for soccer. And even that stuff is down the last 90 days. So I think everything is just going through a massive reset. And things, the market is different than what it was 2 years ago. So it won't be exactly the same. It's hard to compare prices like, oh, things are up. Just with inflation, most things are going to be more expensive than what they were years ago. It's just one of those things I think is catching people by surprise. And I think a lot of people bought more rare things are rare things, but still going down. Um, and then you also see that Zion, Luca, LeBron, they're all down as well. And I think these guys are going to go down maybe for the most part for a month or so. But I do think it's opened up an opportunity to buy. I think now is around the time to buy. Obviously, the first thing that you need to do is make a list of cards that you want and that you think that can go up long term, not just short term, so you can flip. If you want to flip, that's fine. But you need to look at people who are going to be long term, and how you do that. Like if you're doing basketball, look at people who you're thinking of win MVP next 2, 3, 4 years from now. Please don't say LeBron, because I mean, as dudes get older and more years in the league, he's in the twilight of his career. He's probably not going to win MVP. You know, it could happen. It could shut me up, but chances are very slim. But, you know, there's that. Certain guys who are going to make NBA first team, but, you know, NBA first team, MVP, or if they're going to win a championship. Those things are really going to change a player's life. Maybe defensive player of the year can be a focus as well. But guys who establish themselves doing that. Those are things that you need to look at. And guys who are going to, if not just the first time, but be consecutive first NBA first team. So those are things that are going to make up for basketball. I mean, same for most other sports, whatever their equivalent for MVP, championships, and then equivalent for first time being an all-star and first, you know, whatever their all team is. Those things are really important for car prices to begin with. I think people are starting to wise up, and then after a person has a crazy 50-point game, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are worth investing in. And there is positivity for the hobby. Devin Booker is going up. 30% is a large amount. I don't think there are going to be many cards that are going to be, you know, 5x and overnight or 3x and overnight anymore. I think that is going to be more of 30% increase, 40, maybe 50% increase. And I think the margins for most things are going to be much smaller. Because there's people who are just getting smarter and they're just not making silly mistakes. People are so worried about this being the junk wax era, but I think it's more the junk slab era. You just need to buy whatever cars of the best players now or that have been in the past, and really have to look at more of like what sets were probably printed the most on what years. So I think you're good for guys who are going to be superstars for 2015. The other one is Pete Alonso. His stuff is doing very well. The reason why his is doing very well is because he was just ridiculously low during the season and during the off season. So I remember before sports shut down in March of last year, his cars were like $90 when I bought them. So yeah, annual high of 78. That's still low compared to the all-time high of what they were. But that those are good signs that people are still interested in the hobby. I think people are just being smarter, and just people are just way more cautious because they just thought that everything was going to the moon, and that's not the truth. The other thing is, so basically the bottom is probably going to be, if I were to guess, August. But I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're trying to buy cards, you should be buying now or around now or July time frame is a good time to really start looking into buying. And don't rush into buying cards. Don't worry about, oh my gosh, I gotta run, because I think things are gonna be for most players, things are gonna be down for a little while. Probably around the Nationals, maybe a little bit after the Nationals. So I think a month before the range, I would say probably a month before Nationals, is 30 days before and 30 days after. You're probably going to see around the lowest prices for most cards, except a few sectors, maybe tennis, Olympics, Formula One, and UFC are going to be pretty hot. But a lot of stuff like basketball, some football, I think certain football is going to increase. probably soccer is going to be on a decline after nationals. Um, all that stuff is going to basically not it, and we'll see. But a lot of that stuff won't really be a factor. So I think August, end of July, beginning of August, mid August time frame. I think most cars you're still gonna see, probably that's gonna probably be the bottom. But really, the most important thing you need to do is make a list of what cars you want and how much are you willing to spend on those cars. You're probably gonna be, if you buy them, is probably going to be at an all-time high. And I think you want to pick cards that are going to be harder to find, that you may not see pop up until, not every day you see them sell. Maybe not every week. You're going to have to wait at least a week or so before you see that card come up for sale again, let's say in an auction or something like that. And it's consistent at least a week or longer, because you want to get rare cards that are hard to find, but that are more in demand. And around now is the time to buy. So yeah, I think people are worried about the junk wax era, but I don't think things are going to go exactly the same as it was before. I think, yeah, I think that's really the biggest plan. And I think, yeah, don't rush and feel like, oh, I gotta hurry up and buy stuff. I gotta hurry up and sell stuff. Just take your time, because the market will rebound. But yeah, if you have any disagreements, comment below. Please subscribe and like the video, and then please share with other people and see what they think.